And now here's a quick look at the top stories we're tracking for you today.
There was a major explosion in the dock area where they load the boats up with drugs.
Donald Trump says United States has hit and destroyed a docking site in Venezuela used by alleged drug boats, marking what could be the first land strike in a U.S. military campaign against Latin American drug trafficking. U.S. military says 2 people killed in a strike on an alleged drug smuggling boat in the Eastern Pacific, bringing the total killed in Washington's campaign in the region to at least 107. Russia accuses Ukraine of firing 91 drones at President Putin's residence in Novgorod, all reportedly shot down. Ukraine calls the claim a lie intended to undermine US-led peace efforts.
Speaking of Iran, I hope they're not trying to build up again, because if they are, we're going to have no choice but very quickly to eradicate that buildup.
US President warns Iran of fresh strikes and threatens to eradicate any attempt by Tehran to rebuild its nuclear program or ballistic missile arsenal following US and Israeli strikes earlier this year.
If they don't disarm, as they agreed to do, they agreed to it, and then they'll be held to pay for them. And we don't want that. We're not looking for that.
Trump downplays any differences with Israel on implementation of ceasefire in Gaza and warns Hamas will face consequences if it fails to disarm, presenting a united front with Israeli PM Netanyahu in Florida. China kicks off a second day of live fire drills around Taiwan, stimulating a blockade of the island's ports. The exercises, called Justice Mission 2025, started on Monday. Taipei slammed them as military intimidation. Kim Jong-un tours a factory making new multiple rocket launchers and hails the weapon system ability to annihilate the enemy. A day after North Korea said it test-fired 2 strategic long-range cruise missiles. Four people killed and 9 injured when a bus reversed into passengers in Mumbai's Bhandup West. Maharashtra CM Fadnavis announces 5 lakh rupees compensation for the families of the deceased. Silver steadies after experiencing its biggest one-day drop in over 5 years, with prices recouping some losses as traders book profits and renew bets on market direction, leaving the precious metal still sharply higher for the year.
Fresh figures show more than 3,000 people died trying to reach Spain by sea in 2025, a sharp drop from the previous 12 months. But migrants' rights groups warn the decline does not mean safer journeys. According to the NGO Caminando Fronteras, 3,090 people drowned between January and mid-December of 2025, including 192 women and 437 children. Spain's Interior Ministry says just under 36,000 irregular migrants arrived by sea and land during that period, down from more than 60,000 the year before. Authorities attribute much of the decrease to tighter border controls, particularly in Mauritania, a key departure point for migrants heading to Spain. Mauritania signed a €210 million migration deal with the European Union last year to curb departures, but Human Rights Watch accuses Mauritanian authorities of systematic abuses against migrants, including violence and mistreatment, allegations the government firmly denies.
America woke up to chaos. No, not from politics, not from war, but from the sky, because this holiday weekend, weather took the control and it did not ask for permission either. You're watching Times XP. My name is Rithi Athri and we are going to talk about a storm that brought the system to a stop. A massive winter storm swept across the United States northeast. Snow fell fast, ice followed, and temperature it plunged. Within hours, roads turned into skating rinks. Visibility collapsed. Emergency sirens, they began to sound. Well, this was not just a bad weather, it was disruption at the scale. In fact, state of emergency was declared. New York and New Jersey both declared states of emergency. Why? Because highways became too dangerous to drive. Snowplows struggled to keep up. Emergency services were stretched. Officials issued a simple message: stay indoor, do not travel. This is not the time to test luck. Then came the airport. They were hit really bad. More than 9,000 flights were delayed, cancelled, or stuck on the ground. Major airports were hit: New York JFK, Newark, Boston. In fact, runways had to be cleared again and again and again. Passengers waited, then waited more, and everybody was stuck. Now, this particular storm hit at the worst possible time, post-holiday travel. Families returning home, workers rushing back, airports already packed. In fact, instead, travelers found long lines, frozen tarmacs, in fact, cancelled connection, hotels all filled up really fast. Now, for many, the journey simply stopped. On the other side, airlines moved quickly to limit the backlash. They announced that rebooking fees waived, flexible travel policies, schedule changes without penalties. But here's the truth. When runways are frozen, no policy can fix the weather, right? Crew worked through the night. Still, the backlog kept on growing. In fact, the roads, they were worst. Highways across the whole region, they were icy, slippery, nearly impossible. In fact, accidents were reported. Cars slid, traffic crawled, or maybe didn't move at all. Authorities shut down key stretches to prevent the further danger here. Well, this was not about safety, not about speed. In fact, meteorologists say that the storm combined heavy snow, freezing rain, and sudden temperature drop. That combination is very dangerous. Snow slows you down. Ice takes your control away. Together, they paralyzed the cities. Then came the official warning here: do not underestimate it. Emergency officials stretched one point again and again. They say that this was not just inconvenience, this is risky. They warned residents to avoid any non-essential travel, stay off roads, check on vulnerable neighbors. Because winter storm, they don't just disrupt the plans, they test the infrastructure as well. In the end, this was not a weather event. This was a reminder: modern travel systems, be it plane, be it highways, or be it schedules, all are powerful, but they are still at the mercy of the nature.
China staged live fire drills around Taiwan on Monday. Beijing deployed troops, warships, fighter jets, and artillery for its Justice Mission 2025 exercises. The country's military said it had concentrated forces to the north and southwest of the Taiwan Strait and carried out live firing and simulated strikes on land and maritime targets. It added that the drills would continue on Tuesday and include exercises to blockade the island's main ports and encircle it. The exercises began 11 days after the U.S. announced $11.1 billion in arms sales to Taiwan, the largest ever weapons package for the island. They marked China's sixth major round of war games since 2022, when then U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited the island. It also follows sharper rhetoric from Beijing after Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi warned that a Chinese attack on Taiwan could prompt a military response from Tokyo. Taiwan's government condemned the exercises. Presidential Office spokesperson Karen Kuo said the drills threaten security in the region.
Maintaining peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait and the Indo-Pacific is a high consensus of the international community. The Chinese People's Liberation Army conducting targeted military exercises around our country not only brutally undermines the current state of security and stability in the Taiwan Strait and the Indo-Pacific region, but is also an open challenge to international law and international order. Our country expresses strong condemnation of the Chinese authorities disregarding international norms and using military activities and means to threaten neighboring countries.
Taiwan's defense ministry said its military was on high alert and poised to carry out rapid response exercises. Those exercises are designed to move troops swiftly in case China suddenly turns one of its drills around the island into an attack. This Taipei resident appeared unfazed by China's military exercises.
I think these drills are just meant to scare us, to intimidate us. Similar drills have happened before. As ordinary citizens, I think all we can do is take care of ourselves, do our jobs well, and live our lives well.
Taiwan rejects China's claimed sovereignty, maintaining that only its people can decide the island's future.
Tonight, the streets of Tel Aviv are not echoing with sirens, they are echoing with the anger. Netanyahu, get out. That's the chant shaking Israel's biggest city. Tens of thousands of protesters have flooded Tel Aviv, openly revolting against their own Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. Well, months after the deadly October 7 Hamas attack that changed Israel forever. But in this protest, this is not just about war, it's about trust. Israelis say that their government failed them. With most disheartening, families of victims, students, and even Americans living in Israel are demanding one thing: accountability. Protesters accuse Netanyahu's government for the claustrophobic intelligence and security failures that allowed Hamas to launch one deadliest attack in Israel's history. More than just a military failure, protesters accuse Netanyahu's government of the catastrophic intelligence and security failures that allowed Hamas to launch one of the deadliest attacks in Israel's history. More than just a military failure, it called a political collapse. Placards, tears, and rage filled the streets. One protester, Rina, also summed it up very clearly. She says she is protesting to remove what she calls a terrible government and to reclaim the hope for Israel's future. This is where the tension deepens. Let me tell you, despite the growing anger, Netanyahu has refused to take the responsibility. Instead of announcing an independent inquiry, critics say that his government is focused on political survival, even as the war in Gaza drags on hostages and remain captive. Let me focus on a twist here. These protesters are not just fading, they are growing. What started as a grief is now turning into a full-blown political revolt. The families of October 7 victims say that justice is being delayed on purpose until the war ends, until the public pressure fades. But it hasn't. The question now is hurting Israel and a dangerous and historic way. Can a country fight a war abroad while facing the rebellion inside their home? With public trust collapsing and streets filled with fury, Netanyahu's leadership is failing the biggest damage yet. Not from Hamas, but from his own people. So what do you think? Is this just a beginning of end of Netanyahu's rule? Or will the war silence the protest? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
7th time this year, the emergency department at this Fraser Valley Hospital in Mission, BC is closing overnight for a week.
There were just bigger gaps in the schedule that would not make it safe.
And in the province's interior, what was supposed to be a 12-hour closure at the only ER in 100 Mile House has stretched to 36 hours.
It's a very large impact, not just making people themselves nervous about what if they go out and they get hurt. We're on the major highway connecting Vancouver to Alaska. We see, I don't even know, 10,000 cars a day go through, and we've had a couple of major incidents in the last couple of days.
Emergency room closures are plaguing every corner of the province, from northern BC to the Okanagan, Metro Vancouver, and Vancouver Island. Health authorities say a shortage of doctors and nurses is fueling the issue.
We are always actively recruiting, and we're recruiting very aggressively, as probably every other health authority is in the province, to deal with this.
Across the country, healthcare workers say they're experiencing burnout. It's part of the reason the entire OBGYN department in Kamloops resigned their hospital privileges earlier this year.
And the question is it safe?
The union, representing over 4,500 paramedics and emergency dispatchers in BC, says ER closures in remote and rural communities mean long, risky drives.
Say if the other community or the other hospital is 2 hours away, that effectively can turn into a 4 or even a 6-hour delay for an ambulance in the home community. Now, if that community doesn't have another ambulance staff there, that community could effectively have 0 ambulances for 6 even longer hours.
The provincial government says it's working on solutions that support stable, reliable emergency care, changes that will take time. Yasmin Ghaneya, CBC News, Mission, BC.
A train accident in southern Mexico injured at least 13 people and halted traffic along a rail line connecting the Pacific Ocean with the Gulf of Mexico. The interoceanic train linking the states of Oaxaca and Veracruz derailed as it passed a curve near the town of Nizanda. As per the officials, 241 passengers and 9 crew members were on the train when the accident occurred. This interoceanic train was inaugurated in 2023 by then-President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. The rail service is part of a broader push to boost train travel in southern Mexico and develop infrastructure along the Isthmus of Tehuantepec, a narrow stretch of land between the Pacific Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. The Mexican government plans to turn the isthmus into a strategic corridor for international trade, with ports and rail lines that can connect the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans.
الدول لا تنهض إلا بتكامل مؤسساتها حين يعمل الجميع بل دائما يقول كلمته بقوة وشجاعة آمن بأن الانضباط شرف الله أكبر الله أكبر
B1 M2 రెండు బోగిలు తగలడిపోతున్నాయి.
Did you see that there was an earthquake in Kentucky today? A 3.2 magnitude earthquake was confirmed in Garrett County. Now take a look right here. You can see Garrett County right here. It's about 38 miles south of Lexington. And these yellow counties right here mean a moderate risk for earthquakes in the state of Kentucky. And earthquakes of this size are relatively common in areas near fault lines. Garrett County EMA right now has no reports of any injuries or property damage caused by today's earthquake. And the chance of another earthquake happening on the same day in this area are pretty low. While it was only a 3.2 magnitude, did you feel the earthquake?
And a major earthquake rattles homes and nerves in Taiwan, and now the government is warning people there of possible aftershocks over the next few days. The 7.0 magnitude quake hit this morning. It was off the northern coast, and it sent restaurant customers running outside. So far, there are no reports of any major damage or injuries.
Bastante fuerte. Mira, Daisy, los contenedores. Mira cómo se van los contenedores. Se está trayendo todos los contenedores. Mira.
has just issued a warning to the United States-backed the YPG. Is it diplomacy or destruction? Let's talk about that. You're watching Times XP. My name is Rithi Athri, and the tensions along Turkey's southern border is rising. At this time, the spotlight is on YPG in Syria. The Nationalist Movement Party, MHP, one of Turkey's major political forces, is sending a loud and unmistakable message. Comply with agreements or face the consequences. But the question is, what is Turkey-Damascus deal here? So, earlier this year, after the fall of Syria's Ba'athist regime, the YPG struck a deal with Damascus, integrated into Syria's armed forces, dissolved its so-called autonomous administration in the north and northeast. The PKK, the parent organization of the YPG, they have already abandoned arms, but YPG itself refused to join. Instead, they maintain control over large swaths of oil-rich northern Syria, insisting on decentralizing, basically a move that Damascus rejects. And now, Turkey is saying something else. Deputy MHP, the chair, Smil, he has warned on Sunday that having internal peace in Turkey is just not enough. We must drain the swamp abroad as well. Well, the YPG did not toe the line, and the security risk on our southern border remains. After that, he used a very well-known Turkish saying to make it clear. Diplomacy is the first option. Advice will be offered, but if the YPG refuses to comply, Turkey has the strength to deliver a beating. Then comes the military warning here. He did not mince his words at all. He said that those not willing to accept diplomacy will eventually disappear. Turkey is strong enough to eliminate all the terrorist group, whether it is the YPG, Daesh or FETÖ. Now this particular statement, it follows years of attack by YPG on Turkish border towns, and it is backed by Turkey's coordination with Damascus. Now let's flip the script. Let's talk about YPG. YPG leader Farhan Abdi, he insists that his group is committed to the integration deal here. He claims talks with Damascus are ongoing. In fact, he pledges mutual understanding on military integration and counter-terrorism. He emphasizes the destabilization demand here. However, Syria's officials, they paint a very different picture. Let me quote what they say. YPG statements have remained theoretical with no concrete steps or clear timelines. That's what the Syrian foreign minister source told Sana. In fact, these statements appear to be media tactic to reduce political pressure. Now, you know what? Here we heard both the sides. But let's talk about the dangerous balance here. This is not just about diplomacy. This is a high-stakes game along a volatile border. Turkey sees the YPG as a direct security threat, specifically given its support from Washington under the pretext of fighting Daesh. In the meantime, Damascus wants the YPG fully integrated but has struggled to enforce the deal here. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the clock is ticking. Patience is running out, and that's not what I am saying. These are the quote of Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan last week. But you know, this matters globally. Why? Because this particular conflict is more than a local issue now. Turkey is a key NATO member, a powerful regional player. The YPG's autonomy in northern Syria complies US-Turkey relationship. Turkey's post-Ba'athist stability is fragile. Now, any military escalation, it could trigger wider regional tensions here. Basically, in simple terms, diplomacy is running out and Turkey is ready to act. Let me tell you what to expect next. Will the YPG comply with Damascus and Turkey, or will Ankara take military action to secure its border? And wait, how will Washington respond to a possible Turkish strike against the US-backed group? Well, the answer could reshape the entire map of northern Syria, and the stakes are high for all the players.
В ночь с 28 на 29 декабря 2025 года киевский режим предпринял террористическую атаку с использованием 91 ударного беспилотного летательного аппарата дальнего действия на государственную резиденцию президента Российской Федерации в Новгородской области. Все беспилотные летательные аппараты уничтожены средствами противовоздушной обороны Вооруженных сил Российской Федерации. Данных о пострадавших и ущербе от обломков БПЛА не поступало. Обращаем внимание на то, что данная акция была совершена в ходе интенсивных переговоров между Россией и США по урегулированию украинского конфликта. Подобные безрассудные действия не останутся без ответа. Объекты для ответных ударов и время их нанесения вооруженными силами России определены.
Владимир Путин обратил внимание его коллегу, обратил внимание Дональда Трампа, что фактически сразу же после, как американская сторона считает, успешного переговорного раунда в Мар-а-Лаго, киевский режим предпринял террористическую атаку с масштабным использованием беспилотников дальнего действия, атаку на государственную резиденцию президента России в Новгородской области. С нашей стороны четко заявлено, что подобные безрассудные террористические действия, естественно, не останутся без самого серьезного ответа.
People could come in. Come on over, fellas. We had a big meeting with a lot of people, a lot of talent from Israel and from the U.S. And I think we came to a lot of conclusion and conclusions. And there's very little difference in what we're looking at and where we want to be, where we want to go. And so I just want to thank you for spending time. I know you're going to be over here for a couple of days, and maybe we'll be surprising us on New Year's Eve. That'll be fine. And it's wonderful seeing you and Sarah and your whole group. Very talented group. We've done very good work together, and it'll continue. So thank you very much, people.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. I have to say that in addition to what I said, that we've never had a friend, even close, a friend, as President Trump in the White House. I think he's been extraordinary in his friendship and his support for Israel, his principled positions, his willingness to just cut through and get to the essence of things. And I don't say that as a compliment. I just mean it. People have heard me say that behind your back, Mr. President, many times. But I want to say something else. I think we have a partnership, if I can quote you, second to none. I think it's allowed us to do enormous things. You know, people said there was a different conception at one time, which means that America can advance its interest in the Middle East if it opens a lot of daylight between it and Israel. And President Trump has done the exact opposite. He's achieved remarkable things in the Middle East because we work together. We talk about our ideas. Sometimes we have different ideas, but we work it out. And most of the time we see eye to eye. But it's been a remarkable experience, and this was a very, very productive meeting. And may I say, a very good lunch. Thank you. Thank you for your friendship.
Thank you very much, baby.
And thank you for your support. It's meant from the heart.
Thank you. You know, as I said outside, he's been a wartime prime minister, and we were, well, I guess I could say I was a wartime president in more places than just Israel, if you think about it. But Israel was a big factor, and we're with you, and we'll continue to be with you. And a lot of good things are happening in the Middle East. We have peace in the Middle East, and we're going to try and keep it that way. I think we will be very successful in keeping it that way. And you've been a great friend, and I've been a great friend to you and to Israel, and it's been my honor. And the award that I was given was really surprising and very much appreciated.
Well, President Trump has broken so many conventions to the surprise of people, and then they figure out, oh, well, maybe, he was right after all. So we decided to break a convention too, or create a new one, and that is to award the Israel Prize, which in almost our 80 years, we've never awarded it to a non-Israeli. And we're going to award it this year to President Trump. This was announced formally over lunch by our Minister of Education, who's responsible for the Israel Prize. is going to be awarded to President Donald J. Trump for his tremendous contributions to Israel and the Jewish people. I think it's such a fitting thing, and it would honor us, obviously, Mr. President, if you could visit Israel in that occasion on our Independence Day. But I have to say that this reflects the overwhelming sentiment of Israelis across the spectrum. They appreciate what you've done to help Israel and to help our common battle against the terrorists and those who would destroy our civilization. So, again, that's an expression of thanks and appreciation.
Thank you, baby, very much. That really is a great honor. Any questions, please? We'll go pretty quickly because pretty much we agree on most of the things, and you would know what most of those things are. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to know if you and the Prime Minister talked about having Israel pull back its troops before Hamas fully disarms. I know that's been an issue. Did you push for that today?
Well, we talked about Hamas and we talked about disarmament, and they're going to be given a very short period of time to disarm, and we'll see how that works out. Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be in charge of that from our side, but if they don't disarm as they agreed to do, they agreed to it, and then they'll be held to pay for them.